Hello, my favorite peeps. We have Marty from New York with us today, and we're going to talk about all things real estate, right? So we'll talk about the market, we'll talk about funny stories, talk about market conditions, kind of where we see the market going, as well as hurricane preparation along the East Coast. Now, Marty, this was your idea to do the hurricane preparation, but in my ignorance, I didn't realize New York got hit with hurricanes.
We're actually getting hit, the remnants of your hurricane now, so it's been raining for a couple of days. It's actually been probably the rainiest season that I can remember in 10, 15 years. We don't, hurricanes are, nothing compared to what you experience, obviously, but we did have some roads wiped out. We had some Bear Mountain State Park closed down because roads were washed away. And several areas towards West Point, which is where I'm located about an hour northeast of New York City. So I'm in the suburbs, but most of the people here are commuters, or at least were commuters before COVID. So it's not what you think of when people think New York City. But I do work in several counties, which is something new in the last 10 years, where we used to work in one or two school districts. Now we're in 5 counties, stretching from Westchester, which is closer to the city, to Rockland, to Orange County, which is where I live. So, yeah, hurricanes are, flooding down power lines, trees, stuff like that, but nothing, near what you guys experience.
So I would be interested. So anybody that's listening to this broadcast, put down 3 things that you do to prepare for a storm. Be interesting to see if, based on location, you do different things. What do you do? If I'm putting you on the spot, Marty, what are like 3 things that you do? You see a storm, you're like, oh, it looks like it's going to hit Wilmington, North Carolina. And to be clear, they rarely hit us. So everybody does ask me that. We are on the coast, but because I was going to bring in a map, because of the way like New Hanover County kind of jets out and then it kind of scoops back in, it goes up. Seems
Right.
like it kind of gets caught in that vortex. It ends up hitting Havres area, which is about 6 hours from us. So
Well,
we don't really get a lot of them. But tell me ways that you prepare. What are
um,
3 things?
not a whole lot. I mean, other than flashlights and batteries, and we do have a backup generator, which basically you can plug 3 things in, which is the refrigerator, the internet, and a light.
Yeah.
Basically is what the priorities seem to be today. But a lot of up here too, we have overhead power lines. I
Mhm.
don't know if you guys do down there.
We do, yes.
So a lot of down trees and stuff like that. So it's more, more the flooding than anything else is what I'm experiencing. I've had a lot of rental properties over the course of my years, and I get a lot of clients borrowing pumps, submersible pumps, things like that, because when you experience water for the first time, you're kind of freaked out, and that may not be the case in, you know, all the different places. We're our big thing is snow up here,
Yeah, right.
snow,
And we
ice,
don't get, that's what I tell people.
you know.
Like, we know what to do with a hurricane. We will party, neighborhoods come together, people come together like they never have before. But snow, holy cow, we don't know what to do with it. We don't even know what to do with the thought of a flake coming. So is there anything in particular you do as a real estate agent? For instance, like us, when we hear that there's a storm, a potential storm, if we have any vacant homes, I make sure to go to those homes, pull up all of my signs, make sure if they have any hanging baskets to take those down. So I kind of go through all of my listings and make sure that they're taken care of, because I certainly don't want a sign blowing through somebody's window. That would be
Yeah, you got the flying object thing going on.
horrible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we take a vacant listing or a bank owned listing, something like that, we have a regular schedule where we're going and checking on the house to make sure that the biggest issue with us really is not so much with the hurricane, but with frozen pipes.
Mm,
And a lot of times, if the bank owns the property and then sells the property to another lender, a lot of times these utilities get shut off. So we need to make sure that, and just checking on them to make sure we can minimize damage. But nowadays, fortunately, with all these webcams and house cams, there's a lot of technology can come into play, so we don't have to do as much boots on the ground. But
Right.
it's just part of the deal. It's that time of year, so you know,
We always, it's funny. So growing up, it was always ingrained in me that you got cash, you filled your car with gas, and you got tons of water. Obviously, you need food, you need ice, all that. But those were the three things. You need water, you need gas, and you need cash. And I never really understood why. I've lived in Wilmington my entire life. I have never left, not for one storm. Never had really needed. Of course, I needed the water and food, but I've never really needed the gas or the money. And not this past year, but in 2018, we got hit with Florence. And in the middle of Florence, it was an undescript storm. I mean, my kids and I were walking the neighborhood in the middle of the storm. Like it looked like a light rainfall was happening, but it hung over us for 7 days. And that is what caused the most damage is it was a very mild storm, but it just wouldn't leave. And then everything happened to be aligned perfectly. It was like the full moon and it was the king's tide and all of these other phenomena that were going on at the same time. But what I quickly learned, all of Wilmington, 99.9% of our area did not have power. And we didn't have power I ended up getting it back after 7 days, but some people went 3 weeks. Well, cash, guess what? Grocery stores didn't have power either. So when we ran out of food and we would have to go to a grocery store and pay cash. And their teller, nothing was working. So they had a calculator. It uh-huh.
well, you've heard that, but I really didn't like put one and two together. How you would use the cash? I'm figuring, well, nothing's open. What are we buying anyway?
But guess what? ATMs are closed and they're out of money.
Right. And who carries cash? Realistic, like not too many people, right? I mean,
That's exactly right. Then I thought it was interesting because I made sure everybody had full tanks of gas in their car, which I knew, in case we needed to leave. But what I did was I called all of my clients right before the storm and I said, hey, I'm not leaving. Is there anything I can help you with? And everybody said, yes, can you go by and check on my property? Which I really wanted to do. But 7 days later, when you still don't have power, the
yeah.
power lines are still in the middle of the street. It's very scary to drive in it. Gas stations were closed. And I went by like six of my clients' houses, and I did videos. And then I was like, I'm going home. I'm too scared.
Yeah. Not worth getting electrocuted over.
No, because you wouldn't see it until you ran up on it. And being here my entire life, we have just never, we just not that I remember anyway, had that much damage from one category one storm.
Do we get a lot of people? I mean, most people, I shouldn't say most people, maybe 20%, 25% of people up here are moving out of state. They're moving to states like North Carolina.
Yes, they are by the droves.
Actually, you're probably in the top 5 places, actually, when I Googled it last. Now, in terms of flood insurance and stuff, is it isolated to just certain flood zones where you're required to have flood insurance down there? Or is it?
So technically, 100% of our houses are in the flood zone, and that's because of the proximity to the water. The X flood zone is the one that you want to be in. That's the one that if you carry a mortgage on your home, they do not require you to have flood insurance.
I see.
You have other ones like AE, VE, those you would have to get flood insurance. And honestly, so my house is one road back. I am in a flood zone. I'm in the AE flood zone. My house is up on stilts, so it is pretty high. But we only pay like $800 a year for flood insurance.
See, that's exactly kind of what I was getting at, because I think that would be one concern if people were moving from down here. They're moving down there, and the taxes are a lot more
compared to you. Yes.
But we're wondering, what do we get nailed with? Are we getting nailed with like high, flood insurance or auto insurance?
Flood insurance, no, all the other insurances are pretty much the same. The only other thing that is different with us versus other parts of the country is you do have to get wind and hail insurance,
Oh, okay.
HAIL. You do have to get that because I believe it's any town within 100 miles of a beach. So that, is about, well, it depends on the price of your home. There's a lot of variables, but it's about between $1,000, $2,100 a year. But
Got it.
that is an expense that people are not aware of.
Right. So basically, when they're calculating their monthly payments, that's something that's not showing up on the Zillows or
That's
Realtor
exactly
or
right.
any of that. Gotcha. That's good information.
Yep. So then, Marty, and so I thought it was really interesting. So when you first came on, and we got to catch up a few minutes before we went live, but you had said that you met Michelle and I. We're talking about Michelle Ayers. So shout out to my teammate Michelle. But meeting us in Orlando, and that would have been 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, during right after COVID, or kind of like they weren't participating in all the COVID rules at the time in Florida. But
Yeah, I came back with
yeah,
COVID. Did you?
no, no, I didn't get no. It was all good. But
Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
glad I didn't give you COVID.
Um, you know, I got it. I got it, but after it's funny because all the people that went to the convention, I didn't hear too much at that time, and that was when the mask mandates and stuff were being lifted and all that stuff. But that was great. Yeah, that Orlando convention was nice because we got to see the same people over and over again, and we were talking about how it's nice. We've both been doing this a long time, and when we used to refer people to different areas of the country, we would really be referring people blindly out of a book, a relocation coordinator or something like that.
Sure.
Now, or would Google them and try to find the best agent. Now we actually have relationships with these different agents in different parts of the country. And it's nice. It's comforting knowing that, hey, I'm sending somebody that I know and work with down to somebody that I know, like, and trust already, which is you.
That's right. So, but I thought it was interesting too that you had said that Michelle and I were telling you how much you would love Wilmington. So you recently came to Wilmington. I wish you had called me when you were here.
It was
But
like,
tell me about it. Did you love it? It's beautiful, isn't it?
it's awesome. I love it. I really do. It is just, I had a house in Cape Cod, Massachusetts for about 15 years. I did my summers up there, and it reminded me a lot of that, like just like quieter and quainter and not. I was in Wrightsville Beach, so it was not as commercial as a lot of the other beaches are. But oh my, it. I could see that being a second home someday. So we'll see.
See, I am telling you, people come here and they never come back because our prices, yes, they have gone up and they're continuing to go up. However, compared to other parts of the country, they're still relatively inexpensive and our taxes are inexpensive. And the weather, we have seasons. So we're not like Florida where it's all hot. We do have seasons, but our seasons are very mild.
Right, right. No, I love it. I'm definitely gonna plan on going
Did
back
you,
down there and exploring more. So.
yeah, did you make it to downtown Wilmington and see any of the cobblestone streets?
Cape Fear, yeah, the Cape Fear down there, all that area. Yeah, it wasn't the best weather when I went down there, but I
Yeah.
did want to check it out. It was funny. It was, people singing in the streets and like a little crazy, a little cold though, but a little bit, southern as well. So it was nice. It had a lot of charm to it.
So Southern being positive or negative?
Oh, positive, definitely positive. Oh, it's refreshing. It's just everything about it. It's just when you go down there, you just feel so different about everything. It's just in coming back, to the Northeast was just not. I would have stayed down there for 2, 3 months. I really would have.
Well, come back down. I
I
will host you next time. Let me know. I
definitely,
would love to show you around, take you on the boat.
I would definitely like to.
I,
Uh,
I love it here, but it's always fun to hear what other people have to say because a lot of my New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, California clients, when they come down, they're like, am I going to be accepted? And I'm like, every single person here came from somewhere else except for me. 99% of our area has moved in within the last 15, 20 years. But it doesn't matter where you're from. When you come down here, all of a sudden you start wearing shorts and flip flops pretty
yeah,
much 7 days a week. That is my work attire.
beautiful thing.
It's much more think much more casual setting, definitely more casual than New York, but even other than like Raleigh, which is the capital of North Carolina, even when I go visit friends there, I have to go shopping and buy professional clothes
All right.
because yeah, and it's only 2 hours away, but it's just a different lifestyle.
It's all the colleges and tech right over there. That's where all that is. But
Yes,
yeah,
that's
a
right.
lot of New York, a lot of people are retiring that way. A lot of people don't want to go to Florida, don't want the humidity, the amount of people, and everything else. So we're getting a large portion of the population that are leaving the area. Some
Yes.
because of the prices, and some because of the weather and everything else. So
Well,
um,
absolutely. Especially if they can work from home, but I'm finding more and more people can't work from home anymore.
I am in a little office right now in Washingtonville, New York. This is my little hideaway. It's a one-room office. It is about 50 miles from my main office down in Scarsdale.
Oh,
I
wow.
come here to escape because I have three dogs and a 15-year-old, and you would call and everything would go crazy. So, um, you
So
know,
you needed to work. Yeah, I couldn't work from
I
home
got
either.
I got everything I need here. I got my beanbag chair. I got whatever. Very comfortable. We'll put it that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think something about being in a work environment, I can kind of focus. I focus in what you can get done in 2, 3 hours versus trying to, juggle doing different things and,
So about
everything.
from your house, are you
Yeah,
kidding? If I'm working from
I
home,
gotta leave sometimes. It's just the way it is.
if I'm working from home, I'm doing laundry, I'm playing with the dog, I'm answering the phone, I'm watching something on TV, occasionally checking an email. Yeah,
And you're
that
like, what did I get done today? What did I actually do today?
yeah, nothing. That's why I like to come to the office. I agree with
Exactly.
you. So talk to me about the market. What do you see? So you've been in real estate 30 years,
Mhm.
30,
32 years. Yeah.
32 years. That's
32
amazing.
years.
So what are you seeing in New York in your marketplace now with real estate?
Well, like the rest of the country, lack of inventory has been the main deal here. Where our buyers come from are really from New York City
Mhm.
mainly. And to date myself a little bit, what people used to do is they would get in the car, they would stop, go about 15 miles, and then they would stop and pick up a Harmon Homes magazine. They would open the magazine, they would see if they can afford the houses in this area. If not, they would drive another 16 miles till the next exit. And, all the way into Orange County, which is about, like I said, 57 miles from New York City. So, as you go away from the city, things get cheaper,
Yeah.
obviously. So we're trying to draw people out of New York City up into our area. So my office is in Westchester County, which is like probably one of the most expensive places in the country.
Wow.
The minimum house is probably $750,000 in that area. So a lot of what I'm doing basically is taking our houses up here, which our median house right now is what it is 486, and we're advertising those houses in the city. So we are affordable, compared to what people are used to in the city. So it's pretty much like that. In terms
And people don't mind commuting. That sounds like a long commute to me.
An hour is pretty like really what I found is an hour and 15 minutes is the cracking point. If people commute, if they move further than an hour and 15 minutes away, then they will wind up reselling quickly. But the game has kind of changed quite a bit with COVID and people working remotely. So what's happened is people are willing to look at houses that are further away from the workplace because they know they're only going in 2 or 3 days a week.
That's
So
right.
but like price wise, our prices have it's like regular appreciation. If I look at it from July of last year to July of this year, we're looking at like a 3.7% gain. So that's like normal, okay?
Yeah.
Compared to like the last 5 or 6 years where it's been crazy out of control due to the lack of inventory. So we're holding our own, but there's just not a lot of buyers. I mean,
Yes.
not a lot of sellers, I should say.
Yes. And Rich is saying, "Hey to you, Marty." Says you're
Rich had an office right next to me for about 10 years. We were right next door to each other. So.
well, nice. So So industry, yeah, so it's kind of the same thing, right? You were saying that not a lot of inventory. People are still buying and selling. You're bringing the people from New York City to you, which is fabulous.
And the people up here are going to you.
Yeah.
They're going to you and down south. But we are seeing some shifts in the market. We are starting to see, because you were going to bring up like interest rates and where
Yeah.
everything's going and how that's impacted everything here. Due to the lack of inventory, it's the prices at the median level, in our case, probably up to about 500,000, there hasn't been a huge impact because there's such demand at that
Mhm.
level that people are finding the money to purchase, even though we went from 3.5% to 7%. Okay. Where we're seeing a change, where we're seeing price reductions are over that number. Houses that are like 600 to a million. Okay.
Wow.
Those houses, it comes down to monthly payments. So we had a lot of people that were, maybe they were shopping 450 when it was 3% now, or they were shopping 600 when it was 3.5%. Now they can't afford that kind of money. If they're gonna,
Right.
gonna look 600,000, 700,000, something
It
like
changes.
that.
That's right.
So the price reductions I see are in that 6 to a million. When you go over $1 million, I kind of say that people with money always have money, always had money, always will have money. So, it's just a question of how aggressive they're being in their purchases, in
That's
terms
right.
of their
And
offerings.
it's funny, more and more people are just paying cash. February, I think the interest rates kind of stunned everybody, and everybody kind of sat back and we're like, I'm gonna wait for them to go back down. And I think everybody's realizing that they're not going down, and the houses are still going up in price. And if you're going to buy something, you kind of, you
Well,
need to do it now if you can afford it, and then refinance at a later date.
that's like the Dave Ramsey, school of thought there too, where, if the rates go down, there'll be more buyers in the game, which will push the prices back up. But, we were spoiled for a long time. 3%, 3.5% is not normal. It's not.
No, it was the lowest we had seen in 100 years.
I think I started in 1990 or 1992, and we used to
Was
use.
it 18%?
No, no, no. That was the 80s. That was the 80s, 86, 87. I was in high school back then. But in the 90s, we used 8%. And 8%, we used a regular manual calculator. $734 per thousand is what that was. So like that wasn't bad back
Yeah.
then. But we have just got so used to this, 3-4%, that so really right now the big issue is what we're running into is you don't see a lot of people that want to sell their house that they have a 3% mortgage on and buy a house at 7%.
That's right.
So like what companies are saying, like Keeping Current Matters, is that the second quarter of next year is when they're predicting the rates to go into the fives, like the
Yeah,
high.
yeah, I heard sixes, but that's what I heard March it dropped to the sixes. But yes,
So that'll inspire more people to come out and buy, but now we'll have more buyer demand again. So like you said, prices could rise.
yeah,
So it's when it's time to move, it's time to move. There's a lot of different ways to figure it out. I mean, I bought many houses with adjustable rate mortgages, which are kind of coming back into play again.
that's right.
But people are afraid of things that they don't understand, so they really got to sit down and put pen to paper and really figure it out.
That's right. And get with a knowledgeable, I tell everybody, talk to me. Tell me what your goal is. What is your 1 year goal? What is your 5 year goal? Let's see. I mean, I am not a financial planner, but if you're talking about real estate, let's work on a plan. Let's figure out, what do you need to do to your house to get it ready if you want to list in 6 months? What do you need to do to your finances if you want to buy in 6 months? And let's come up with a plan to guide you so that when you are ready, you'll be ready.
That is a great, when you get a buyer or seller like that, that's great. When they're actually listening to your advice, and because everybody's got a friend. It's just like everybody's got the parent that bought 40 years ago, and they think that everything is completely the same, and it's just not. It's just this market. We have to take different tools out of the toolbox. to be successful in every market. And, unfortunately, for a lot of the newer agents in the last 5 or 6 years, you didn't have to do these things. I mean, basically, you put a house on the market, it sold, regardless of whether you knew what you were doing or with the marketing or with it's scary. It really is. So I think agents will be showing their value in the next year or two here for
Well,
sure.
absolutely. And I always tell everybody, interview the agent. I mean, you're hiring somebody for the largest transaction of your lifetime, of most people's lifetime, right? Buying or selling a house. And it's very emotional. It's a lot of money. And why would you get an agent that has sold 2 homes in 24 months? Like
Well,
you need to get
because,
somebody that knows what they're
because
doing.
they have a friend. Their
Yes.
friend does this part time and they're trying to help their friend, but little do they know they're leaving money on the
Thousands.
table for one thing. They're leaving a lot of money on the table, but there's a lot of different things that you can run into that because of your experience that you can help these people
That's
avoid
right.
avoid
Negate through it.
problem.
That's right.
And it's they unfortunately the public sees us all as the same. We're all realtors, but really when the market shifts as it is shifting, I think they people owe it to themselves to really look into who they're working with, how long they're locked into, if they're locked into a listing agreement for a period of time, and to ask the right questions, in terms of we're not all the same, and I'm mostly residential. I do some multifamily. If you ask me about horse farms, I'm not your guy,
That's right.
so you got to find the right professional for the right job, and
But
some.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. And I think agents are too scared to say, I don't know horses. I don't know anything about a horse farm. Let me refer you to somebody who does. But for me, I'm trying to build a reputation for life. I'm trying to build clients for life. So I am not, I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm going to do what I know I'm excellent at. Right. And if it's and Morehead City, I know that I've only been to Morehead City 5 times in my life. It's 2 hours from here. I'm going to call my agent in Morehead City and I'm going to refer you to them because I don't know the area.
Well, that's to me, that's refreshing because that's what we, as an industry, we've gotten away from that. You know your area, I know my area, and when that's one of the good things I think working at Remax too. If somebody comes to me with a commercial property, I may just turn around and refer them to another agent in the office that specializes in that, or a horse farm, or we'll work together on it.
That's right.
Things like that, where it's great to be surrounded by other professionals. And I think that's something with Remax. When I came here, I don't know, about 12 years ago, they say what golf with better golfers. Like you
That's
raise
right.
your game by playing, like by working with people that work at a higher level. And, that's what I think, this brand is really all about.
I think you're very smart and I would agree with that. Yeah.
So,
So market's still hot. Great time to buy, great time to sell. Don't miss out on it. Don't wait for it. People that have been waiting have missed the boat. Um, I, you know, with our inventory here, it has gone up. We're at 2.4 months, meaning if everything stopped being listed in 2.4 months, everything would already be sold that is currently listed. That
right.
is still a seller's market.
We're at 1.8 right here, the last I checked. So it's but that's something else that spins into when you hire an agent. Well, when you work with an agent as a buyer's agent, what should you be looking for in this market? Anybody can just go on Zillow or Realtor.com, but like what when you're if you're interviewing that buyer's agent to decide if you want to work with them, what are they how are they positioning you so that you can be successful in terms of buying, being successful getting a house?
That's right.
You know,
That I think that kudos. I think that is awesome. And you're right. Even so for me, right? I think they should be looking at the experience level, how many years they've been doing it, how familiar are you with that area, how long have you lived in that area, how involved in that area are you? Because you know it's and Wilmington has grown. I mean, I'm born and raised here, but holy cow, it has like doubled in size in the past
It's
20
huge.
years.
Yeah, it is huge.
It
How big
it's not
it
as
is.
big as like New York. I mean, our population is like 200,000, but to me, that's a lot because I remember my dad owned an automotive repair shop for 32 years, and it was the largest automotive repair shop in Wilmington. And I promise you, if I crossed the street and I did not make eye contact or say hey, by the time I got home, whoever I had passed crossing the street that I didn't make eye contact, they had already called my parents to tell them I was being rude and how dare me.
Of course they
And
did.
I would come in and get in trouble, and I'd be like, I didn't even know what I was in trouble for.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, we have 390,000 people in our county, so that just shows
Mm.
an idea of how the size of Wilmington. Um,
It's small, which I love.
it's there's so much to explore. There's just so much to explore, and I'm sure there's so many little places to go that are just amazing that you have to know somebody like you to know where all the good places are. So
See, and I love that too because I do get clients for life, and they do call me 3, 4, 5 years down the road and be like, Jennifer, what was that restaurant you were telling me about? And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, we've got some of the best food.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We'll still bring you down some pizza though, because that seems to be still we still seem to have you there.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. You do have us on the pizza, and I'll take that. Yes. And I don't know what it is about your water, but everybody says it's the dough and the water.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Got me, got me. But
It's you doing it. It's the fact that you live in New York.
yeah, yeah, but
Awesome. Well, then, in finishing up quickly in bagels, that's true. Yes, y'all have better bagels. I do have a client now that just bought a bagel shop, and they are one of the only places in our area that make them from scratch, and they're so good. But I didn't know what a bialy was until they started making them. Have you ever heard of a bialy?
I'm not New York, New York.
Okay.
I'm upstate. I'm an upstater. I actually was in. I went down to the Javits Center last week, so that was my big New York trip to go to a photography B&H trade show down there.
Nice.
But
Well, wonderful.
yeah, I was a fish out of water, is my point. So yeah, I'm an upstater. I felt much more comfortable in Wilmington. We'll put it that way.
Well, wonderful. Well, come down.
Yeah,
And come, honestly, I would tell you this is the best time of year, October, November, because it's still warm. It's like 84 degrees today with a little bit of a breeze. So it's still warm, but it's not,
right.
it's not like you can't breathe.
And the
It's
kids
not
are back. The
stagnant.
kids are back in school, so that's good too, right? So it's
Yeah,
quieter,
that's right.
all that.
Beaches are clear. Absolutely. This is my favorite time of year. And then again, about 1st of April, we do get cold like towards the end of January, pretty much all of February, and then beginning of March. It's, I think it's cold, but I'm not talking, I've never been in anything below anything, right? I think cold is like 30 degrees. I'm freezing.
Your
Um,
blood is warmer. Your blood warmed up down there. That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
get
went,
used to it. You definitely get used to it. That's for
you
sure.
do, you do. Yeah, I guess so. Because I mean, I went to Dallas, Texas last year, and it was 112, and I thought I was dying.
Wow. The
That was
humidity too,
miserable. I've
right?
never experienced that either.
Yeah, I could do without that for sure.
That's exciting. So we have perfect weather here. So come on down. Next time, Marty, don't come in August. Wait until the end of September, 1st of October. Come on now.
Sounds great. That's great. Well, thanks for having me here, and
Yeah, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
we'll do. Yeah, me too. I appreciate you.
Well,
Um,
awesome.
quick question before we get off here.
Tell me.
Um, what is normal in terms of the amount of time to close down there? Because that's something that I don't know if I mentioned it to you that I've been running into issues with people in up here in the north selling their houses and down there, different timetables completely. Just like I believe down near you, your typical closing would be like 3 weeks. Is that
30 days.
okay? up here we're like we can be 60 to 90.
Because an attorney is very like we're an attorney state also, but your attorneys write the contracts, right?
Yes, yes. So, like, I recently had somebody, not to take a lot of your time, but I recently had somebody that sold their house up here, had a closing date. When we have closing dates up here, we on the contracts are an on or about date. They're not an actual date that we're closing. On or about means a 30-day window. Okay, never before. So I had people sign a contract that said 8/15. Okay, up here, on or about. They went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and didn't tell me they were looking to buy and signed a contract that they would be closing on 8/15. Okay. So, my first, it all worked out in a crazy kind of way. We made it work. However, I think a lot of people up here are a lot of people down there are, you get a copy of our contract. You got to take a look at that because it's on or about up here. And
You
then
know,
put
so our mutual friend Rich that keeps piping on, and hopefully you're listening, Rich. He sent me a referral 2 or 3 years ago, Jeff Nonoa, and that was very hard for me to learn. So I had to keep calling Rich and say, "Hey, I'm looking at it, the contract in New York, and it says it's closing on this date. Although he's saying it may or may not close on this date, and we're under contract."
Yeah,
But right, so we're at 30-day close. So our contracts, I mean, agents write them. It is a standard form. It's standard North Carolina Board of Realtor form. We fill in the blanks. But the only thing that an attorney does, and this is the other thing that I had to learn, and I learned through Rich, is that here you don't talk to the attorney until the day of closing. You might hear from the paralegal. They're supposed to give you the closing disclosure 3 days in advance, but it
Right.
is rare that you actually get it 3 days
Sure.
in advance. We're usually begging, screaming, yelling, starting at 5 days, and we
Yeah,
might get it, the nth hour. But attorneys don't do anything more than prepare the deed, and they do the title search and all of that
right.
standard, but they don't write the contracts.
Wow. Yeah, completely different processes. So it's just something to know because we are coordinating a lot of sales. So, like up here lately, we're doing a lot where we're selling properties and renting them back to the homeowner
Yeah, we're
so that
starting
they can get liquid so that they can go down and, put themselves in a position to win.
to buy.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's everything's a battle, multiple offers on a lot of different properties. So,
So
um,
I'll tell you one thing that you've never, well, you probably have never heard of unless you've listened to me for 5 seconds. Are you familiar with due diligence fee?
no, not
Mhm.
probably what you're referring to. Go ahead.
Rich. Due diligence fee is non-refundable. So I'm sure you have like an earnest money.
Yes.
So we have earnest money too, but we have two deposits. We have an earnest money and a due diligence money. Earnest money is refundable as long as you terminate within the due diligence time frame, which is super confusing because you're using due diligence twice, one to talk about a time frame and one to talk about money.
I
But
said,
the money is non-refundable for any reason or no reason. So it is the buyer's right to terminate, and it says, "Hey, buyer, thank you for giving the sellers this money, and you have," and it's a fill in the blank, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, to do all your inspections, check the paperwork, do appraisals, whatever it is that you need to buy the house.
right,
This is your time frame. But everybody always comes back and they say, "Well, what if it doesn't appraise? Or what if it has a major settlement problems, or the roof is collapsing in, or whatever?"
right.
Doesn't matter. It's non-refundable.
No kidding. Yeah,
Mhm.
we don't,
We're the
nothing.
only state that does it. South Carolina tried to adopt it. I think they're using a little bit, but not much. But it's a weird concept to a lot of people.
Well, I think that's information that people need to know when they're moving from here there. And I think a lot of that is just, I get people who go on vacation, they go down, they find a new construction, they put a deposit down, and then they come back here and they're like, we need to sell our house yesterday. Well, you're going to get a different price if it's yesterday versus the normal period of time that it takes to sell. So,
That's
you know,
right.
good information. But no,
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And we'll definitely do it again.
I can't wait, Marty. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And next time we need to coordinate when you come down.
We're going to do it. We'll make it
I
happen.
love it.
All right.
I look
Take
forward
care.
to it.
Thanks.
Bye, Marty.